There. Cindy, are you talking about your package, your level?
I am. It came Monday and I had to resubmit one swatch and 3 instructions and 3 questions.
Oh my goodness, that's incredible.
That's like
Oh,
nothing.
Great.
That's like perfect.
Well, I was like, oh, I
Oh.
expected it to be a lot. And then I started looking at the one I had to resubmit and I'm like, oh, I can't hardly see that. So I did order, I don't know if I can show you guys, a lighted magnifying glass thing because my eyes just can't see very well to see for seams. So I've got that now that I can see. But so, and then I sent it off Thursday afternoon and it's supposed to get back to my co-chair today before 6 o'clock.
Good,
So
good.
we'll see.
That's great.
Congratulations. That's wonderful.
Great.
Thank you.
Well, hello, everyone. You all have
Phrancko.
started coming really early, and I am not going to move the start of the time earlier just because you're all here.
Well, I was
One
only here
hour
2
meeting.
minutes early. Usually I'm about 10 minutes late.
Yeah. Well, welcome, everyone. Let me say hello to Mary,
Hello, hello.
Sumner,
Hi.
hi, Judith,
Hi, Frank.
and I've spoken with Cindy. Hi, Cindy.
Hi,
Hi,
Frank.
Jensine. Hi,
Hello.
Kathy. Hi, Joellen. I believe this might be your first time. Is that right?
It is my first time and hope that will be successful. The last time I tried a couple of weeks ago, my sound was all bizarre.
I remember that, but you didn't need to leave. I wanted to tell you, you just needed to mute yourself. But you're
Well,
fine now. I remember
kind
now
of
you
you-
were here and we said your sound was messing things up.
Thank you so much. It's kind of you to think that I'm able to figure out what I'm doing on this activity anyway. So right now I can only view about 4 people at a time. I have to kind of turn a page, but I'll get familiar eventually.
What are you viewing on? An iPad or a phone?
A Fire tablet.
A Fire tablet. I have no advice for
Oh,
you. I know
That
nothing
looks
about
great,
it.
though.
Hi, Sidra,
Hello.
and hi, Claire.
Hi, Frank.
Hello, Jenny. We can't see you or hear you, but hello. Hi, Ron. And hi, Rana.
Hi, how are you? How's everybody?
Doing good, Rana.
Good.
Doing great. Yeah.
Hey, let me know when I can ask for help. I don't know when that starts.
Well, that's probably the most important part. So let's start with that. Who needs help?
It was Claire, I think.
Claire.
Yeah. I am at the sleeves
Yes.
Yay.
and I'm right at that part.
Yes.
And I'm not sure if I'm doing it right. And let me tell you, this doesn't look great, but it looks a hell of a lot better than it did before I started picking up moving bars of stitches around to kind of get rid of the holes and stuff.
What's wrong with it? I don't see anything wrong with it. That's under the
Well, I'm
arm,
saying,
right?
I tried really hard, so it doesn't look like there's much wrong with it. But I'm just a little confused reading the directions. And I suppose if I had more sleep and I read the instructions very carefully, I might be able to figure out what to do next. But I'm sort of stuck. I've done the sleeves and then knit the 10 rounds, and I'm right at the top of the sleeve shaping.
Okay.
And I have no idea where my markers are supposed to be.
Oh, there was an instruction to put a marker in the middle of your cast on stitches across the underarm.
I did do that, but it just kept getting in my way. So I thought, you know, I know where that's supposed to go.
Well, that's where you do the increases. So you have to keep it on all the way down the sleeve so you know where to do the start and end of each round.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Uh-huh.
So, but like you said, I had 14 stitches, so there is no middle.
Oh, it doesn't matter. One stitch, one or the other, it doesn't matter.
Okay, all right. Okay, then I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
That was
Good.
easy.
That's good. That's good.
Yes, and I don't know, the confusing thing I think about the instructions is that row 1 ends with a decrease and round 2 starts with the decrease. They're really right next to each other with 1 stitch in between them. The instructions look like they're separate because one's on round 1 and the other one's on round 2, but the marker is in between them.
I may have done that wrong then, because I made the, there's that, I made that decrease on this side and this side.
No, that's not the decrease I'm talking about. I'm talking about the decreases for the sleeve shaping. The ones you're
Oh, yeah,
about
yeah,
to start doing.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, you haven't done one yet.
Okay.
You've done your, what I think of as the straight inch. You said it was 10
Yeah.
rounds for you. That's 10 rounds is about an inch from the
Right, so
underarm.
just the first round of that one is where you do it on either side of it.
That's right.
Okay,
Right.
all right, I'm okay.
All right. Perfect.
You did good. Yay. And you've done a lot in a week, Claire.
Mhm.
It's been a lot more than a week. I've missed a couple, but
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
And as you can see, I have 7 skeins and the computer says I need 9, and I'm not worried because I'm probably not going to make it as long. I think I overestimated on the length and definitely the lengths of the sleeves. I like 3/4 length sleeves and I had put long sleeves in. Plus I have a whole bunch of a very complimentary yarn.
Well,
So-
how much do you have left?
Well, I have 7 skeins total of the 9.
How many do you have left that you haven't used yet?
I have 3 full skeins and then I have these sleeve ones that I'm working on.
You've got plenty to finish because
I
it's
think I
usually
did.
like one skein. Are these 100 gram skeins?
You know
Not
what?
50 gram.
I think they're 50.
Oh, then it might take 2 for each sleeve.
So what I did was I stopped on the bottom and I just kind of
Oh,
put
I
that
see.
on waste yarn
Oh, I see.
and I'm doing the sleeves first.
Okay, that's
Sleeves.
smart. If you think you might not have enough yarn, then you can
Right.
finish
So
everything in a different color. That would be nice.
I'm going to do the sleeves for a ways and then kind of see how much I've used and stuff.
But if you determine that the estimate was too short, please let me know. I'd like to look at that and see if I'm doing the calculation wrong for your gauge.
Well, you
Because
said 9.
it should be liberal. It should be a liberal estimate. I don't want anybody to fall short when they buy the yarn for their sweater.
Yeah, I will definitely kind of comment on how my finished product compared to what my estimates and measurements were plugged in.
Maybe you could put a post in the forum on Ravelry and also include your sweater number. So I can look up your pattern and study it. If you find out you don't have enough yarn, just wait and find out if you have enough yarn.
Okay, sounds good.
And then if you don't, I would really like that information. The sweater number, by the way, if in case you don't know, is the very last line of your pattern. It says sweater number and it's a 3-digit number.
868.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
And if I have that number, I can immediately bring it up and look at it on my computer.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, well, it's fun. I still think this is easy.
Wonderful.
Even when I think I'm not getting it, it's all right there and you just do it. Crazy.
Does anybody else have a question? Let's have questions first today.
I have a question.
Why, certainly, Joellen, what's your question?
Since I have video now and sound, I'll probably be talkative, so.
Oh, good. We're a talkative group.
And I'll apologize up front because my questions will all be kind of pretty silly, I'm thinking.
No, there are no silly questions. We're all, everybody has to do it the first time and it's And I understand it's not written exactly like any other pattern you've ever seen. So questions are very valid, no matter what they are.
Okay, well, so I stopped and started making my sweater several times, and the struggle that I had, I finally figured out because I remembered some conversation with you and Suzanne, and that was that I printed the scoop neck, but had put in the measurements for crew neck. And my
Yes.
pattern had gazillions of things that were just bizarre. And I knew it wasn't you. I knew it was me. I just didn't know what I had done. I finally figured that out. And I have a crew neck measurement and a crew neck pattern. But
When you say the crew neck, you mean the original crew neck? There's 3 versions of the crew neck.
Well.
And you
I'm-
can choose between them. One of them is the scoop neck, one of them is the round neck,
Yes.
and one of them is the crew neck.
Right. Well, when you pick, let's say the scoop neck,
Uh-huh.
don't you have to go in and update your measurement for your
No.
neck so that
No,
you don't?
no. In fact, you can't change your measurements after you bought the pattern. All 3 of those patterns will fit you if you've
Okay.
entered your measurements and gauge correctly.
All right, well then,
Just 3 different, it's basically 3 different necklines. That,
all right, well, it was just me struggling then for the non-crew neck and figuring out how to do, I know you mentioned that it's best to do the crew neck first because it's simpler.
that's right.
And I'll grant you that because I could not figure it out. And maybe in future, after I finish this and we chat more, we
Okay.
can talk about me making a new neckline.
Okay. The thing that makes it more complicated is you start the sleeve cap shaping before you have finished the neckline shaping on the 2 deeper ones. So you have to keep track of what increases am I doing across the sleeve caps, and also what am I doing at the neckline. And they're 2 separate sets of instructions, but you have to be jumping back and forth to see which one you do on each round.
How do you keep up with that? Do you make like little notes or something, or you're just so smart since you made this thing, you know how to count? I couldn't figure out a way to divide it up.
I don't know how to answer that exactly.
I know you're pretty specific on your pattern, so I just have to be able to
Would
read
you-
it properly, I'm sure.
Would you like me to answer, Frank?
Oh,
This is
please.
Cindy.
Where's Cindy?
how I-
Let
hi.
me- Yes,
There we go.
there we go.
Hi, Joellen. How I do it is I make a little spreadsheet thing, but sometimes I even just use a piece of notebook paper. And I number down and say, like, at first for the sleeve cap shaping, I'm just making up numbers here, but I need to do every 7th row, I need to be doing my increases. But then on the neckline, maybe I'm doing it every 3rd row or every other row, depending on what it is. And so I just have the columns and I just write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and do that. And then across from that, I have 1, 2, so that I can see, it's like, okay, the 1st row, I do this, the 2nd row, I do this, but I don't do that. In the 3rd row, I do this, but I don't do that, kind of thing. And I just check it off.
Yeah,
That is how I did. And it's only until you close the neck, and then you're not doing 2 things at once. So it really is just for a few number of rows that you're doing it. The other thing that I do that helps me to keep track is I use little funny, these little weird dental elastics that are colored. You can get them off Amazon, or if your kids go to orthodontia or the grandkids go to orthodontia, you can get them. And then I put those on when I actually do a increase or a decrease so that I can see what's happening.
Okay.
And then I can really easily go back and count, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's another little dental elastic. Yeah, and just be really careful when you cut them out.
Yeah, oh, man, that would be.
I've never had a problem, but Frank has a story about that.
I
So-
have a story.
Oh,
This is what I do for my sleeve.
Yeah, exactly like that. Cidra's showing how she marks hers.
Wait, where's Sidra? Let me, Sidra, wait, hold on.
She's doing
Ah,
it.
there you are.
There we
There.
go.
So this is what I
Yeah.
do for my sleeve. I'm getting ready to cut them off.
Oh my goodness, that's a lot of, that's your sleeve?
Yeah, it's 24.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
How many rounds were between each increase row? Like four,
Um,
3 or 4?
no, actually it was 8 at one point, and I think 6 at the other. As I
Oh.
got narrower.
Mhm.
Because it's knit. Almost
Yeah.
the whole thing is, knit with some pearls.
Right. Well, that's
That's why.
interesting. Well, anyway, that's what it looks like when you mark
Mhm.
a decrease at each round. So you can easily go back and count those elastics to see how many decreases you've done. And also you can use them to check to see if if there's 7 rounds between decreases, which sometimes is the case for me, you can count the rounds from the last elastic rather than looking for the decrease, which can be hard to find sometimes.
Can I ask a question on the elastics?
Sure.
How do you get them on the yarn? What? I'm lost. They're
I was
closed.
wondering if anybody was going to add, how do you do that?
They're closed.
Ron,
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to give you verbal instructions. I
Magic.
think I should do a 1-minute video to show this. Right before you do the decrease, you slip an elastic on the right needle. You then do the decrease, which moves the decrease stitch to the right needle.
Oh, I get
Now
it.
you pass the elastic over the decreased stitch.
Got it.
And
Yeah,
that
and
puts
Arenda
it around
Holiday-
the decrease, and it's not on the needles anymore. It's just around
Yeah.
the one decrease thing.
Arenda Holiday does have a video about that too.
She's the person who originated this idea.
That was where I got
it
the
from her.
idea.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah.
I've seen it. And I've actually tried it, but I like the little plastic safety pin markers better.
I'm sorry, who's speaking?
Yeah.
It's just Jensine, sorry.
Jensine.
I'm looking for you and looking.
Yeah. They're nice, but they're a little thicker and they distort the yarn just that.
They are a little bit
Mhm.
thicker, but you can get them off without cutting them out. I tried the elastics, and as I was cutting them out, I thought, oh my goodness, I better be careful here.
They're not all elastics are alike. I know the ones Arenda showed us at a retreat are smaller for orthodonture, but you can buy the hair bands.
yeah, I
at-
get poly bands. This is what I
Yeah.
just buy them in the hair tie section, and they came in this little container.
Right, I get them at the dollar store, and they're cheap. And so you can never have enough safety pins if you're working on something with a lot of decreases. So
But
My
I,
safety pins.
what?
Yeah, I like.
Did you
the
want to see my
plastic.
safety pins?
Well, I
I've got
mean,
hundreds off of Amazon, but I know what you're talking about.
yeah, they're so cheap at the dollar store. You get 500 for $1, and I think I have a lifetime supply now.
I cut them out of straws.
Yeah, well, that's a good idea.
Oh,
Hmm, that is a good idea, especially if you got those boba straws or, the really big ones. They make nice stitch markers.
well, I'll tell you what I've learned about removing them. Where am I?
Yeah, tell us your story.
So my story is, I was following this technique for a while, and I got very careless when I was removing them one time, and I snipped one close to the fabric and cut 3/4 of the way through one of the threads. The decrease at the decrease. right?
Yeah.
So everything is more
Oh.
complicated as a result. I had to unravel about 1 inch of stitches in each direction. So I had about 1 inch of yarn to weave in from the 2 cut threads. take another piece of yarn and graft the stitches back together and rework the increase as I'm grafting, which is not an easy task to do.
Yeah.
And then weave in 4 different ends. They're all, 2 of them are really short. But it patched it and you couldn't tell, but it might have been easier to unravel the whole sleeve and start again. It was just a real pain. So I learned my lesson the hard way. It's very simple to get it right. You just, you put your scissors, one point of the scissors in through the elastic and pull up away from the fabric. You can see very clearly it'll stretch an inch up and there's nothing connected, and then you snip. And so I still use the really small dental elastics, and that's how I do it. Does anyone else have a question? Oh, I see Rana has raised her hand.
If you're using a lot of stitch markers, whether you're just knitting along and you're using markers for a pattern, be careful if you put a lifeline in, bypass the stitch markers.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're on your lifeline.
And they're moving up and your lifeline is not. And then it starts to distort the fabric. I have done that.
So
I'm sorry.
Pardon me, I'll have to learn how to raise my hand. I know there's a way.
That's all right. You can also just speak up. And if I see you or hear you, if I can't find you, I'll ask where you are or who you are so I can then spotlight you.
Okay. Well, this is Joelle, and back to the changing of measurements. I also made a sweater for my 6-year-old grandson. So for whatever reason, I had the idea in my head that you could manipulate the measurements as they grow. I would have the same pattern. Evidently that blows up in smoke.
Why? What do you mean?
Well, he's going to grow, surely. He's only 6.
Yes.
So to be able to change his measurements as he grows, I thought that the pattern would grow with him. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, I guess that you found out.
No, that's not going to work anymore. I can see how that would be annoying to you on your side of the world. May I tell Ron how very, very much I absolutely adore the video for the little cute swatch that covers all the different types of stitches and stuff.
Well, good.
Not only was that, oh my Lord, not only was that the most helpful thing I've run across in quite a while, it's cute. When you get it all done, it's cute to look at. I'd like to make, some sort of patchwork quilt with all of them.
Yeah, I love swatching. I love it. And I know that is a minority opinion in some spheres, but
absolutely.
I love swatching. And when I was, I guess this is last year at this point, nearly like about this time, right? When we had that little knit along, I know it's helpful for some people who are diving into something that seems daunting because it's so big, because a sweater is physically large. I know it helps some people to have something to practice that's very low stakes. And everything that the pattern has you do is pretty straightforward. You have just may not have even heard of directional make ones, let alone doing them purl-wise.
Exactly.
Approachable. So I'm very, very glad to hear that was helpful to you.
Well, that and that little ditty, that a way to remember the right and left is fantastic. You can spend all day looking back and forth at what is right and what's left.
Yeah, good. I'm glad. I'm
Yes.
glad.
Yes.
Ron, would you share that link?
Yes,
have it
let's,
handy?
let's make that link more accessible.
Yes.
Where is it, one wonders? I don't know how accessible it is to even myself. But yes, I can stick it in the chat, and then I guess Phrancko.
I will post it with the description of the video
Okay.
when I put it on YouTube, and I'll also post it
Yeah.
in the section on Ravelry where I post the links to this.
But I find it handy to be able to stick tutorial things just in a nice approachable swatch. And
in case it wasn't clear to anyone, this is a swatch Ron invented to help you practice every single technique that is required to knit this sweater pattern in
Awesome.
one single swatch. And so if you can work this swatch, you can do everything you need to do to knit this sweater pattern.
Great.
And I came to knitting late, and I was 67 years old when I took it up very seriously. And I know everybody else has been knitting for 50 years or, decades anyway. And so I assumed that when I was writing the pattern and I was just doing make ones right and left and knitted and purled, I just assumed everybody knew how to do all of those things. And so I wrote no description of it or anything. And I originally, I didn't know what I didn't know. So I signed up for the TKGA Master Hand Knitting Certificate, which I earned, and learned all the stuff that I didn't know. But then when I wrote the website, I didn't know what other people didn't know. So I originally said the pattern would be rated for a beginner or easy. I've since been corrected. It's probably intermediate to maybe complex, but I really don't want it to be complex.
I'm a late bloomer also. I started after I retired. And I don't know what I don't know till I get there. And then it's like, oh my, I don't know what this is.
how do I find a link to my own video? Here it is. Video link. Okay, I'm going to stick this in the chat now if I can find the window that Zoom operates
Okay.
in. I'm on a computer I don't generally use, you see. The computer I use here in the shop is at home. This is the swatch, by the way. Can you see me?
Yes.
This is what the finished swatch looks like. So it starts with a crochet cast on. Optionally, you could just cast on, but it starts with the crochet cast on. It goes up through the increases on both sides. It has pickups. It has the bind off on this little section of ribbing. It has
Wait a minute, Ron. I didn't make you big, so people can't see.
I started this size. Was a hard labor.
Okay.
She still
You've
hasn't
done your
forgiven me.
part. Now I've done my part.
So yeah, this is the swatch as it comes out, and it has the cast on. I've put in the markers where you would measure your gauge if you want to use it for that purpose. It's got where you pick up stitches. It's got the ribbing. It's got the sewn Kitchener ribbing bind off. And there's even a section in the ribbon pattern where you can do short rows up here. So it's fairly comprehensive, and it's, I don't know. But that's it. And that's the link in the chat.
I did not get the link.
It's in the chat. Do
I'm
you-
not on chat.
Can you bring up chat on your
I
device?
don't know how to do that.
There
Well,
should be a little button that looks like a comic book speech bubble somewhere in a menu that you can press, and it will show you the chat.
Well, I'm on
Failing
my
that-
iPad and I'm not real familiar with it.
Failing that, it'll be, Frank says he'll put it in the description when this video goes up. And
Okay,
I guess I can, or someone can, share the link again in the Phrancko forum about the
Okay.
weekly Zoom meetings.
all right, thank you.
and
We'll get
Mary,
it to you somehow. You can also just email me and say, help.
I'll make it easy for you, Mary. I have your email address, so I'm going to send you the link right in an email.
Oh, wonderful, great, thank you. I probably could find it on my computer, but I just don't use my iPad very much. And I have gone to the first page and I still don't see the microphone. Could be I need new glasses.
There's
But
something
thank you
called
anyway.
chat somewhere, but anyway, I don't know how it looks on an iPad.
Me neither.
But anyway, I sent you an email.
Thank you, thank you.
Though you may not need it. You've been knitting a Phrancko sweater for a long time. Are you getting back to it, Mary?
Are you talking about my 4 starts and stops?
You just have to
I
not
will
stop,
get back
Mary.
to
You
it.
just have to not stop.
You can
That's
just
what I
take a look
keep
at it
telling
at any point if you just want to see my smiling face back when I had a beard.
That's right. Ron, you have a beard again. It's just
I know.
not a very
just-
much of a beard.
I know.
It's
It's coming.
coming back quickly.
Is it 3 weeks worth?
Wow.
I feel more like myself daily. Like my appearance makes sense to me. I spent a good few weeks being startled every time I looked in a mirror.
Ron, did you get any new pictures of when you were on stage?
I did not. I think they shared with me what they intended to share. I don't know what happened. So I think that's what we're gonna get. Today I came here immediately after holding auditions for a show I'm directing.
Oh, you're the director.
I'm so tired. Yes, I am. They had me back after all these years.
What is the show?
It's called The Play That Goes Wrong.
Oh,
Oh, I love that. I saw that in Charlotte.
Oh yeah,
That was wonderful. It was
So-
a big production.
yeah.
It was fun.
I'm I'm sort of the go-to guy for when things are too complicated.
Laugh out loud fun.
Well,
There's a
good.
lot.
Yeah, it's a big undertaking. I am
That set design is crucial.
yeah.
Oof.
I was the technical director of this theater for many years.
Yeah.
And I'm not now, but when they needed someone to take on this particular project, it was me because I'm fussy and detail oriented. And it's helpful.
We've never noticed that about you, Ron.
But I'm also just like wildly experimental. I don't know. I'm just that kind of guy. This'll work. This'll work. Someone was asking me today, how are you going to get a second level? Because it's in a black box theater. How are you going to do this? Don't ask. I'll do it. I promise. So that's what I've been up to. And making huge strides in my knitwear designer certification. An update went out about it this week, where many of the research requirements for a lot of the questions were removed, which was a relief because how am I going to research how to design a way to move from one complementary color to another in a design? I just know that. I mean, I just have ideas about it. So like, what book do I even look in where they're going to talk to me about that in yarn? I don't know. And so she
That's
sends out a
exactly what I
thing.
thought.
Yeah.
The color
Yeah.
stuff. It's like, I already know the color stuff.
Yeah.
I know the Munsell wheel. What am I going to do? Where am I going to find that? You know?
Yeah, that was the thing. Just like, what do you want me to cite? And I think someone came to that conclusion.
Yeah.
And so a lot of those just like, how would you do this? Questions have their research requirement removed because.
Yeah.
Is it
I
removed
was
for
happy
everyone?
about that.
Huh?
It's removed for everyone?
Yeah,
It's
it's an
taken out of
update
the
to
program? I
Yeah.
see.
There are still a number of questions that require a researched answer where it's pertinent. And like the fiber report and all of that still requires research, but some of the questions were just like,
Yeah.
Here's my analysis. Now I need to find 2 people who agree with my analysis. I may have done the research the wrong way. Put the corpse before the hearse a little bit.
Now, is this a class that has a start and an end date, or is it something you sign up for and just do like the master's
It's
program?
like the master's program. You get the
Okay.
module. When you complete the module, you turn in the module and you get the next module.
And how many modules are there?
3.
I'm thinking I should sign up for this. I was thinking of taking Donna's marketing class, but I think it's more important that I learn how to be a designer since I'm supposed to be a designer.
That you're supposed So
Probably need to learn how to be a designer.
I've been remaking my sketches after I accidentally lost that sketch.
Oh,
from
that looks good. I like
That's
that.
wonderful.
So that is the design proposal that I am submitting for the op art theme.
I'm doing op art too, but it's much more subtle.
Yeah.
I actually bought some shibui and I'm going to use that.
Oh, I love that.
Which I wanted to know. I just found out Thursday from Cindy that you actually carry a bunch of yarn that you don't have on the website. So I'll ask you next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scans. Yeah, you're welcome to send me an email at any point. I have a lot of stuff. We have certainly the lion's share of everything up, but we do have a lot of lingering things. The shibui is not there because shibui is constantly discontinuing and adding new yarns. So I think we have 1 shibui yarn that is still in production. Of
Wow.
8 we carry. So yeah, you can always give me a call.
Okay, I will.
But that's been fun. Working on the design program has been good. And I got a reinvigorated burst of energy now that I don't have to research some of these things that I was just like completely like at a block as to how I would even begin to, I don't know who says anything about this. And it's my job to find that out, I guess. So like looking through the bibliography, like, and it's like I don't operate using an RG or RBY color wheel.
RGB, the RGB.
I use CMY to
Yeah.
design everything because that's how things are dyed.
Yeah.
That's how your eyes work. That's how. So, and having been a lighting designer, like that's just what it is. So name a pair of complementary colors. Well, green and magenta, of course. It's like, who doesn't know? Red and cyan make gray. Just like they tell you in school. But it's good. I made a big chunk of progress on that this week. So if you decide to think,
I thought the hardest questions had to do with figuring out your own style and picking other people whose style you liked. But then when I finally started looking at other people's styles, it always tended to be some of the same features, like more flowing or whatever.
Yeah. I one of the designers, knitwear designers I particularly mentioned, you can tell most of her library is the same top-down yoke sweater,
Mm.
which has a new chart for everyone, which is a great way to be a prolific publisher of knitwear designs, I suppose. If you just have one yoked sweater pattern and you make every chart that size.
But a lot of them have something they're sort of exploring. You know, if you look at the work, it's like the colors and how they blend and how they go from one thing to another, or some feature that they're just doing a lot of. So
that was a fun part. Well, Frank, if you start it, then we can start a little offshoot study group together.
Okay.
Yeah.
I really think I should do it. I don't know if I have time.
Oh,
but
sure.
I'll see what
Isn't that how it is?
do. Yeah.
Yeah, I've managed to squeeze it in somehow. But I'm here a lot. So it's actually like professional development, so I can justify to myself working on it at work.
Uh-huh.
Because, I run a yarn store. I publish designs for the yarn shop in its name. So that way it's easy to justify to myself. But like while I knit sweaters 2 at a time, socks 2 at a time is sensible. Sweaters 2 at a time, maybe not. Boy.
And hello to Tim.
There he is.
Tim? Wait.
Tim.
Oh,
Tim is
behind you.
here
Oh,
with
hi,
me.
Sorry,
Tim.
Frank. Goes there.
He is doing something. I guess I can show my current progress. I'm this far on this guy. It's got quite a bit of body now.
Oh, look at that.
So you can see better the proportion of the placket,
Yes,
the Henley. It is quite deep.
that's
I like
really
that a lot.
nice. I like that.
8.5, 9 inches. So, and then it will have those specialized sleeves. I think I've shown the preliminary sketch for this as well.
Yeah.
And what's the yarn for that again, Ron?
This is Rios, Malabrigo Rios.
Mm.
So it feels great.
Mm-hmm.
I'm enjoying it, but I'm just kind of like, okay, stockinette, time to knit. Next time I'll send it to Sumner.
Yep.
Yes, I know.
I love doing that.
So you just need to learn to work at the same gauge, and then I can just turn out yolks, and then you can knit tubes, and we'll both be very happy.
Hey, Ron.
Hmm.
This is Jensine. I have a question. So that's Rios, that's superwash, right?
Yes.
Do you find that stretches a lot as you wear it?
A lot, maybe not a lot, but a bit.
A little, but it comes back when you wash it, do you think?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I've never knitted a sweater out of superwash because I've always worried about that.
No, I don't find that Rios grows vertically a lot. Many superwashes do, and it does have a very, very soft hand. So depending on how large or what the particular construction is, but I've never found that like any of the Rios samples that we have grow in that way.
Do you knit it at a pretty tight gauge?
I knit well, sometimes, but it's a worsted knit on a 9 in this one because I wanted it to be I wanted greater degree of drape so it can bunch up at the edges the way I like. So I'm working toward a particular texture. But also I've never had you're not going to see the same sort of problems, even with really sort of brutalized superwashes that you do with like cotton, because it still has some sort of friction on itself. And maybe its ability to hold dampness kind of creates a greater degree of friction. But of course, it will distort back into something closer to its knitted shape. If you've blocked it large, it will come back in. So like when you knit with non-superwash wool and the gauge has gotten slightly small, you can confidently block it out and it will
Yeah.
stay that way until you get it wet again.
Yeah.
Superwash wools will tend to come back to their size over time. So that's the only real caution. If you accidentally tense up after you've knit your gauge swatch, that is a bigger deal than the growing, I think, for superwash wools. That you can't block them out and expect them to stay that way. They're going to come back in because
Interesting.
they just want to be in the tension that they're in, and they're not going to hold themselves open for you.
I might try that sometime. Maybe my
Yeah.
next sweater. Will be
And
superwash.
then there are always those tricks that people use for things. Well, Frank had the alpaca sweater, right? That you did a all over slip stitch pattern in. Was that what it
Yes,
was?
that's right. Mhm.
Which is,
Alpaca.
a good solution. You can just put a slip stitch faux seam at the arm at the arm's eye, or a slip stitch faux seam down the sides. Slip one stitch in
Yeah.
the middle every other round, just to give it a little more tension, or literally just baste it. Many people forget that you can just sew a thread up the inside and it's not going to go anywhere. But a slip stitch faux seam can help things from growing that way, But yeah, that's the only caution I really have, that you can't block them out. They will come back in.
Interesting.
For that sweater that was alpaca, the dyer warned me when I selected it. It was beautiful, luscious yarn that was really, I don't know, soft and wonderful to work with. And I selected it because it just felt so good in my hands. And the dyer said, well, if you're going to knit a sweater with 100% alpaca, it tends to droop. And so it's going to get longer and longer unless you use the slip stitch pattern. And that's basically all he said. But what I did was I designed a pattern myself that was knit 3, slip 1, knit 3, or maybe it was knit 4, slip 1. I can't remember, but it was just repeated over and over. And each round the slip stitch moved over one. And so the entire fabric was held vertically by slip stitches all the way around every single round.
Is that kind of a brown sweater?
No, it's purple and kind of red, kind of.
Was it in Cast On?
And where?
Was it in Cast On magazine?
Yes. Mhm.
I think I saw it in there. Maybe my computer screen made it look more brown, but I thought I saw a slip stitch pattern from you.
The texture on that sweater, if I mean, the last time you shared it, you just have to keep sharing your sweaters over and over again. It's a really
Yes.
lovely texture because it makes these subtle diagonals that I don't think you need to go,
partridge.
yeah. I don't think you need to go to that extreme just to knit with superwash, but cottons, linens, silk,
Yeah.
anything slipping.
This cotton, I put cables under the arm,
Oh, also
and
clever.
it divides the sweater, so it doesn't come out of
That's a
shape.
good idea.
It just has cables because it's knitting around from the top down, and then it doesn't really come out of shape.
Too bad it's warm. It's going to be very hot by the time I finish this sweater in a couple weeks. Otherwise, we can do an experiment together and I could measure it and then have Perrin wear it in the shop for a day. And then we can measure it at the end of the day and see what happened.
I'm going to show you how bad my memory is. Did I say this was purple and red?
You did.
Yeah.
It's purple.
It's
Oh,
purple
there
and
you go.
gray.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a
yeah,
that's
I've
So
seen that.
that's
I've
it.
seen
But it is
I was
purple.
thinking it was brown. How bad my memory is.
Does look yummy soft.
But then it's a really nice
Yeah.
texture. It looks like
But you can see the diagonals going down in this
Yeah.
picture. They're very
Yeah.
subtle. And in the
I like
pattern,
that.
I called them phantom diagonals. And they were completely by accident. I didn't know they were there until I was knitting the sweater. I didn't notice them in the swatch that I did first. but it's a very simple pattern. It's just knit 3, slip 1, I think it is.
It works up lovely with that, the stripes and the yarn, you know, neither of them detract from one another, which is
Uh-huh.
a pitfall for using a colorful yarn and a subtle stitch pattern. Often they are and a stitch pattern, they can eat each other up, but that one, and probably the luster of the alpaca helps. It's, I don't know, I think that's a lovely sweater.
Yeah, I really like this sweater. It's extremely warm though, because it's so fuzzy. So it's, I can only wear it on really cold days. I have actually started Zoom meetings wearing it and then had to stop and change sweaters because it was too warm in my room.
I have an alpaca sweater that I made, and being in Massachusetts and having been really, really cold, I maybe can only wear it like 2 days a year. It's very warm.
Yeah.
And I love big, bulky, warm sweaters. Too hot.
That's how I feel in a crew neck t-shirt.
Speaking of necklines, Ron, you mentioned that you've done a Phrancko sweater and just skipped the short rows.
Yes.
How does that look? Because I would like to, I like the bateau necklines or the boat collar. They just go straight across.
So it comes out the profile of the crew neck, because what I do when I skip the doodle-doo short rows is I don't go down a needle size on the ribbing.
Oh.
But if you did, it would be, I don't know if I have one here available at this moment that I skipped it on, but that's how I handle the fact that you do make it. And in the gauges I work at, sometimes it's like 2 inches on each, so 4 inches in circumference shorter, you know.
Okay.
So I just don't go down a needle size on the collar ribbing, and that lets it be a little more open, but probably just slightly, I don't know. That's what I do. Does it make a difference? What is this side effect? I don't know.
Yeah, I think I'd like to figure out how to modify the pattern to essentially go
Close it up.
across.
Yeah.
It works fine to leave off the short rows, but it does have a couple of side effects. It makes the neck tighter because you have left out rows on the sides of the neck. So the neckline is going to be even tighter than usual. So if it's a crew neck sweater, you might want to make the round neck or the scoop neck. But then the other side effect is if you have a stripe, you know, like a color change right across the top of your sweater, and you leave that off, because your neck is higher here than here, that stripe is going to start kind of arc a little, just a little bit. And you may not want it to arc across your chest that way. You might want it to be a straight line across. And so that's the other side effect. But if you're not having anything horizontal across the top of the chest, then it really doesn't show. The sweater still fits.
So I have a rather complicated question, but I think it's a simple solution for somebody who knows Fair Isle. So I was not that familiar with color dominance. And so I looked up, Roxanne Richardson did a nice one. And there's some very specific rules about Fair Isle, but I just don't know what a good book would be that completes what the rules are around Fair Isle. So,
and
there-
you're
sorry,
talking you're talking about the fact that one yarn is more dominant than the other in Fair
Right.
Isle?
right. So
Yes.
like with my first Christmas sock that I did, I just did it as I would normally do it, right?
Mhm.
But if you look really close, you can see on these stitches here,
Mhm.
what hand I have the white yarn in.
Mhm. Because they're
So-
kind of recessive, you're
Right.
thinking, and
They
you'd like them to
get
be more
either smaller
dominant.
or
Yeah,
bigger. So
yeah.
there are some rules around Fair Isle, and I always hear about the rules around Fair Isle. I would love to learn more about the rules around Fair Isle. How do you get a good research around what is it? What are the rules? Did anyone write down the rules? Like,
Lots of
how do you
people
find
wrote
out
down
the
lots of
rules?
different rules.
Like, there's all these rules. Where are they? Because there's so many books on it, and anyone could write a book. Oh, Alice Starmore's. Okay,
Alice
I saw that.
Starmore's Fair Isle Knitting, that's a really good reference. I have no idea if it's got the rules you're looking for,
But I
but
want less
she
patterns.
just
and
writes
more
great patterns, great
process.
books.
Yeah, here I have one of her stitch dictionaries, very handy.
Hold it up again, Ron. I
Oh,
didn't have
see?
you spotlighted.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
We all agree.
but does it give you the
Yeah.
what to hold in what hand?
The one that is held furthest to the left will be the most dominant. Or another way to put the, if presuming you're working in a normal, not like left-handed mirrored manner. The other thing is the yarn that comes under the bottom of the other yarn will be more dominant because there's more waste yarn in there that will pull
Right.
into the stitch. So the one, if you're working with your in a continental and English way or a
Yeah.
throwing hand,
Yeah.
the one that is in your left hand will make larger stitches.
Exactly. That's all I know about it is that because I knit using yarn in two hands when I do Fair Isle, I always hold the one I want more dominant in the left hand. And so it automatically passes underneath the other one every time they cross, or it does the right thing and it makes it more dominant.
There
So
was-
So,
whichever
like
one,
your background colors
the
are in
background,
your left hand?
Depending on what you're
no, the background color's in my right hand because I want the foreground color to be the dominant one.
Okay, gotcha.
So I put the foreground color in the left hand.
Because a lot of, and this is where I got screwed up with Norwegian knitting, you know, the lice stitch, the lice patterns.
yeah.
Those lice stitches are meant to almost disappear in the background. They're not meant to
Ah.
be dominant.
You can choose to put
Yes.
those in your right hand.
But
Sure.
it's,
Yeah.
so I was, oh,
For an amusing discussion a few years ago, there was a big controversy when Arn and Carlos decided to say that there was no such thing as yarn
I
dominance.
remember that. So what happened with that?
They said
It
there's no such
obviously
thing as
isn't
yarn
true.
dominance, and American knitters just have bad tension, so you're fine, Judith. Oh, and
well,
But I have seen pictures of two mittens where one was wrong and the other one was
Yeah.
right.
Sumner
and there
just
was an
showed us an
obvious difference.
example.
yeah, I just did
That's
it.
right.
So this was a Norwegian
No,
chalk that I
so
just, I had to I'm redoing it. I mean, I'm gonna give this to somebody,
yeah.
but
it was a funny week. Arn and Carlos decided to say, no, there's no such thing as that. Americans made that up.
that wasn't that funny. But I did just buy their favorite knitting needles. They just came in today.
I don't
Oh.
think those exist.
The Prim,
Tell us about that.
the Prim knitting needles, they have teardrops on the end.
Oh, yeah.
Just a minute. I got to figure out how to.
So they're not pointed completely because oh, there I am.
Yeah.
So
They look like a little earwax tool.
it looks like a little drop. See?
Wait a
Please
minute.
don't put them in your ears.
You knit with that? It's
Yes, this is a knitting needle. You can
That-
see.
that is the knitting point. I mean, I use the sharpest needles I can find, and you've got these big
That's-
teardrops on the end.
That's the knitting point. Well,
Wow.
I knit pretty fast and I can chew up my fingers.
Yeah, I've
Oh.
certainly
So-
done that.
I wanted solution to not chew, so I'm trying.
They're
I've met with
wonderful
the Prim
needles. They
people.
bend.
And they're Prim, P-R-Y-M, oldest company in Europe.
PRYM.
They're really nice needles. They're plastic and they bend.
I met with the
Oh.
Prim people when they were just releasing these here in circular form at a TNNA. And
Yeah.
they gave me the rundown. And the logic of it is it's like those cultures that knit with hooked knitting needles.
Yep,
Because you sort of scoop the yarn through. So
Yep.
the little neck between the bulb and the shaft leading up to the barrel of the needle is where you catch and pull the yarn.
Yeah.
Working kind of like a hooked needle that some people use, but without committing to hooks on the ends of your needle. So
yeah, so, well, I mean, we'll see, because I was just so sore. I knit 2 sweaters in a month, this one and the blue one. And
Wow.
I was like killing my fingers.
No, not yet.
I just
That's
needed a solution. But anyway, I'm
Sumner,
excited they came in.
Sumner, you have to be the fastest knitter I know, because every time you
Yeah.
start a sweater, you're done the next week, it seems like.
Yeah.
He doesn't show us his bleeding fingertips and thumbs. though.
That's right.
Yeah, it's really, it's like stupid obsessive compulsive disorder is what it is.
I would love to hear a full report after you finish a sweater using those Prims. I would love to know
Yes.
your experiences with them. Because
We'll all be waiting on pins and needles.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, and because they're sticky, I have a friend of mine, the woman who married me and my husband, she really wanted to knit. So and because they're plastic, they're not so slippery. I thought they'd be great teaching needles. So I
They-
bought her a set, and because the stitches are gonna just stay where you put them. So I might not like them because I think they might slow me down a little bit,
A lot of drag.
but they won't tear up my finger, I don't think.
They're really quite nice.
good.
This is Ron. I did a shawl, lace shawl with them, and they
Oh,
were
amazing.
wonderful.
Oh, good. Thank you
So
for the
that's
recommendation.
good to hear.
And Claire says not to use them to clean your ear. Is that what I heard?
Yeah,
Nothing, don't stick anything, what is it, smaller than your elbow in your ear.
Just looks so tempting.
Oh, dear. Okay, with that, it's time for us to say goodbye.
okay.
Oh,
It was really delightful as always.
It's always
Thank you
fun.
all.
yes, yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Night.
Everyone.
Bye, everyone.
See you
Bye,
next
bye.
week.
Bye, Jenny.
Bye.